Okay, let's make bread. I got my water in here. I'm gonna put in my flour and start the autolyse process. Okay, I think we're ready. We have a decent consistency. I had to add more flour along the way, but it's a little bit tacky, but it's smoothing out quite a bit. So I'm going to leave it like this for an hour, and then we'll get back to the next step, adding the starter and the salt. Okay, we have an hour in. Feels pretty good. Put some divots in this thing, so I can put this salt. Got 15 grams of salt. My starter looks really good today. It's nice, and I made it a bit thicker than, last night when I fed it, so it's got a nice texture to it. A lot of air bubbles, a lot of gas in it. That's good. We had 220 grams of it. So that was about 15 minutes of kneading. I put in my 220 grams of starter, salt, and everything's mixed together. It's feeling okay. It's rather tight, which is what I want. So now let it sit for an hour, and then we start on our folds. Got about an hour in. Fold number one. Ready? I'm going to do fold number one. So it's looking and feeling really good. So that was the first fold. Got 2 more folds to go. I'm going to cover it and put it back and be back in an hour. Fold number 2. Still feeling pretty good. Solid, airy, a little bit bouncy. Fold number 2's done, so give it another hour and then we get to our final fold. Folded it up for the third time this last fold. Gonna let it sit for another hour. I was able to get it into a nice taut ball. It feels nice and tight, but it still has a lot of air pockets in it, so I think it's coming along pretty good. So I'll give it another hour. Gonna put it in the pan. It's pretty airy, feels good. Good size. It's pretty airy. I feel like kind of like just so I'm gonna cover this up with saran wrap and let it sit for probably about 2 hours and let it hopefully it'll rise. I don't like that. That's not good. Hold on. So this, there we go. I want it to be even as possible. So it looks kind of like ET, but it's fine. So cover it, let it sit for a couple hours, and then bake. It's a little after 2. Oven's ready. I'm going to go ahead and put the bread in. It feels pretty good. I think it's ready.
Who do you want to message?
Set a timer for 45 minutes.
45 minutes. Counting down.
It's almost time. I'm gonna uncover it. Hopefully it's okay. I don't know. Set a timer for 22 minutes.
22 minutes. Starting now.
Okay, let's take a look. It's almost about 40% risen, maybe. So it's doing what I hoped it would do. This has got to be the largest loaf of bread I've made, and I think it's okay. So I'm putting on 22 minutes. Probably end up doing like 24 minutes to get a nice brown on it and get that nice good crust. So now we're almost there. This looks like a loaf of bread, a full loaf of bread. So this is the 9th loaf, and the thing that I'm not happy about is that I didn't shape it right. So then I corrected it, but it did inflate because it did kind of look like ET for a minute, and it split. And I made them comment that, hey, I'll probably slice it so it'll have more it'll have better things, but it did split, which is fine, and it has a little ear. So, and the ear's standing up, so that it's in a pan, so the pan is going to direct it in a certain way, but this means that there is air in it, and the air went up and it broke it. So that's pretty good. It's 3:20 in the evening, in the afternoon, so after dinner should be cooled down enough, and we'll slice it open. But aesthetically, if nothing else, it looks pretty good. So this was a larger recipe than even the last one. I added another 100 or so gram. Actually, I added a little more because I ended up flouring it more. So this is a little bit, at least 100, probably like 125 grams more flour added. It was 525 grams of water, approximately 725 grams of flour, 15 grams of salt, and 220 grams of starter. I put a big chunk of starter in there because A, the starter tastes good, and B, it'll really help it grow. And I think we have a good loaf of bread here. So now we have to wait almost as long as we wait for the folds and all that stuff, but I think it's okay. It smells pretty good too. So we have a few hours between taking it out of the oven and now. I think the shape is unique because of my mistake, but it did fill in. It doesn't, it's a decent size. I think if I would have gotten it all the way, it would have been even a little bit taller, but there's more bread to be made, so I'll just fix it on the next one. Let me take a little piece on the end. That was really crooked. All right, let's try to do it. Let's do it this way. Crumb looks a little bit better. It looks properly baked. I was watching a guy's video and he had the different things you could do wrong, and I noticed one of them was too much heat, and it looked one for Eleni. Cheers. The crumb looks really good. Oh, cheers. The crumb looks pretty good. It's evenly distributed. It's a lot more real estate, even though this is like still not the middle. It'll get a little bit bigger, I think, but the crumb looks really good. I don't know how well you can see. There we go. Crumb looks pretty good. The height's nice. You have more real estate. Get a little more butter in you. More grilled cheese. There's a little bit of sourness. It kind of creeps up on you.
It's really good.
The one thing that's never been a problem is flavor. What's all the other factors that make bread? The height and the density or the lack of density or whatever. But the flavor's good. It's going to taste really good toasted with some butter on it.
That has a good texture.
It feels like a loaf of bread. So, I've gone from 500 to about 725 grams for flour, 525 grams of water, 15 grams of salt, because it's 2% salt, thereabouts, and 220 grams of starter. So, one difference too, I did put in 200 grams of wheat flour along with the white unbleached flour. I think that does help with the rise too, because when you introduce that other flour, maybe I'm just making stuff up now, but if I notice when you put in a little more wheat, it does make it a little bit better. So I may just, the next time, maybe even just half it, do 50% wheat, 50% flour, and then notice the rise is a little bit better like the last one. So I might dare to say a B plus. So
B
cheers.
minus, B plus, A minus. It's really close.
It is definitely getting there. This is way more of like it's like a regular loaf of bread. So cheers.